Hello and welcome to the Author Webinar Series, brought to you by the Nonfiction Authors Association and Writers Conference. Since 2010, we have helped thousands of writers learn to write, publish, and promote books that make a difference in the world. If you are seeking guidance for your own author journey and want to reach your goals faster, you can learn about membership benefits, courses, and additional resources by visiting nonfictionauthorsassociation.com. We look forward to connecting with you and hope you enjoy this webinar.
Hey everyone, welcome to another of our free webinars with the Nonfiction Authors Association. I love hosting these, and I am your host, Stephanie Chandler, and we have an exciting guest today, David Newman. And I just had to share our story of how we met because I was trying to remember what year that was. We met on an airplane in 15 years ago, maybe.
I think it was 2011 or 2012, yeah.
Isn't that wild? We were both on our way to, I think, Indiana. Was it Indiana for the National Speakers Association conference? I was on the plane dressed like a flight attendant, and I actually normally, you might not believe this, but I'm technically an introvert, and I don't talk to a lot of strangers when I'm out in the wild. David, I would say you're not an introvert.
I actually don't talk to people on the plane, though.
Yeah, you don't.
No.
So it was just kismet that we met that day, that fateful day. So we've been connected ever since. I think you're such a brilliant marketer. So I'm thrilled to have you joining us today. We're talking about how to build your market eminence. I'm going to introduce David and hand it over. We'll come back on the end and do your questions, guys. So here we go. David Newman is a certified speaking professional, a popular keynote speaker, and author of the new book, Market Eminence, 22 Strategies to Build a Bold Personal Brand, Become a Business Celebrity, and Drive Unstoppable Growth. David's previous books are Do It Selling, Do It Speaking, and Do It Marketing, an international bestseller, translated into 6 languages. He's also the host of the globally ranked Top 1% podcast, The Selling Show, with over 500 episodes. He works with founders, authors, and experts who want to play bigger, grow faster, and become a category of one. You can learn more at his website, marketeminence.com. David, I'm handing it over to you. Thanks for being here.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. And let me get into our presentation. We're gonna have a fast moving, amazing platform building, author mind bending time together. So buckle in and have your keyboards ready. We're going to be interactive. We'll be doing some things in the chat that are going to be fun. And our topic and theme for today, as Stephanie just mentioned, is build your market eminence, how to differentiate, elevate, and dominate your author brand. So it's such a pleasure to be here. Let's get right into the good stuff. For those folks that might not know anything about me, which is everybody, here is the timeline of my author journey. I started my entrepreneurial business in 2002. I was literally clueless, broke, and stuck for years. So trust me, my friends, if I can figure this out, you can too. In 2006, notice 4-year time gap, I figured out what to do and who to do it for. All the entrepreneurial churn and craziness went away. I published 3 previous books before the Market Eminence book in 2013, 2020, and 2023. Built a team, scaled, good money, yada, yada, woohoo, wonderful. Made myself kind of miserable, so I scaled my author/consultant business to the point where I was just very, very sad every day, and I realized something had to change. So in 2025, I unscaled, which nobody ever talks about, but I'm going to talk about it with you. I unscaled, I let the entire team go, and now I do only 3 things, each of which I enjoy tremendously, which is speaking, like what we're doing right here, right now, today, VIP days, and then one-on-one private clients. In 2026, I published this latest book called Market Eminence that we're going to download into your brains right here, right now, to give you the author platform that you deserve. Now, I mentioned that we're going to be interactive in a couple of sections of the program. This is the first one, and this is one of the mantras that I deeply and truly believe in. that as an entrepreneurial author, your success, your platform building, your reach, your revenue is based on action, and life rewards action. So if you're with me on this and you agree for the sake of our time together today, please type life rewards action into the chat and I'll know that you're with me. Just type life rewards action right into the chat and we'll see who the actioners are. So this is great. Deirdre, Elena, Jen, Barbara, Wendy, Naeem, Joe, Elaine, Victoria. So many flying by here. Lily, Catherine, Isabel, Bob, Liz, Beth. Fantastic. Tim, Kathy, Vanessa, Michelle. Yes, life totally rewards action. So keep that in mind as we go through everything that we're talking about today. The first piece of action, I have some book bonuses, but as a special gift, because of our 15-year plus friendship with Stephanie, you don't even need to buy the book. I'm just going to give you the bonuses. You can buy the book. You can not buy the book. I really don't care. Go to marketeminence.com and you will get all of the free companion tools, training, videos, and downloads. And I will also pop that into the chat there just to make it easy access for you. And that is my gift for you for showing up live, showing up in person, watching this on the replay. I want to make sure that you have every possible resource in your toolkit so that you can implement what we're talking about today, the ideas that we're talking about today, because of course it's not the ideas that make you money, it's you implementing the ideas that make you money. So these are all the implementation tools, training videos, worksheets, etc., that will help you implement some of what we're talking about today. All right, now our focus for this entire time is 100% squarely focused on you. The reason I emphasize this is I'm going to give you examples from my world. I'm going to give you examples from my clients. I'm going to give you examples from my friends. I want you to look at this through the lens of you, your books, your author platform, your strategy of being an entrepreneurial author, and ask yourself, how does this apply to me? What's my version of this? How can I implement something similar to what David's talking about or towards whatever similar to this example? So please, please, please understand that our lens for application is 100% focused on you. Now, I want to start by saying to truly stand out in the marketplace, and I'm sure Stephanie has some stats on this, and you've probably done some webinars and some training on this. The author marketplace has exploded. First, it exploded with the revolution in self-publishing, and that's not new news, that's old news. But as of about 3 years ago, it also has exploded because of AI. And now every monkey that can type 2 sentences into a prompt thinks they can write their book in the next 45 minutes and try and compete with smart, dedicated, experienced nonfiction authors like you. So how do we get out of the comparison trap? How do we start to differentiate and distinguish what you're doing separate from and different from everybody else? One of the ways to do this is to be the to be the anti, and to be the antidote to the same old lame-o, boring, all interchangeable authors that look like that they write what you write or that they do what you do, even though you're much more seasoned, much more experienced, and your books and your services and everything else that you have to sell are head and shoulders above all of the same-o, lame-o, look-alike competitors. So the anti, and how can you be the antidote? I'll give you a couple of examples from big businesses, things like 7-Up. 7-Up was competing with Coke and Pepsi. They knew they could not win the Coke and Pepsi game, so they literally became the Cola. And how can you be the in your business? When Steve Jobs came back to Apple in 1998, Apple had gotten into the PC clone business, which is such a horrible place to be. They literally were cranking out boring beige boxes like all the IBM PC manufacturers were. Steve Jobs came back and said, wait a minute, I think we need to do something different. I think we need to have a special kind of computer that is optimized for this new thing called the internet. And he called it the iMac, and it came initially in this blueberry color. Once the blueberry thing took off like crazy, it became available in all the different colors. There was the hot pink and the green and the peach and the yellow and all kinds of colors. So it not only operated differently than all the other computers, it looked different than all the other computers. And of course, one of my favorites is the Chick-fil-A cows. Because if you're in the fast food business, you are competing with McDonald's, you're competing with Burger King, you're competing with Kentucky Fried Chicken. The only way you're going to win is if you play your own game and make your own rules. So, of course, who's pitching chicken more enthusiastically than cows? And so this launched an entire campaign, hundreds and hundreds of ads over the years featuring the Chick-fil-A cows. Because, of course, the cows don't want you eating at Burger King. The cows don't want you eating at McDonald's because that's cow. You want to eat more chicken. So what's your version of eat more chicken? Using humor, being the being the anti, or being the antidote to the same-o, lame-o, boring, look-alike competitors. Now, I have deep experience being a professional weirdo. I'm going to take you back to my high school yearbook. This high school yearbook picture, the shot that you see here, when I started out, I was pre-med. So I grew up in northern New Jersey, and we took a field trip to Thomas Jefferson Hospital here in Philadelphia, where I happen to live today. For some reason, they gave out these clean suits. I don't think it was any medical reason or bacterial reason. They just said, hey, let's give these kids these kind of crinkly plastic clean suits. And I thought that was so fun and so bizarre. It was snowing on this particular day. I brought my little clean suit with me. I put it on. I said, hey, let's go outside and let's take a weird picture of me standing in the snow with this clean suit. So this is my origin story as a professional weirdo. I want to share just a couple more high school anecdotes. Every single day at lunch, this was our senior year in 1981, we would play a poker game for money in the lunchroom in the wide open. Faculty's walking by, staff is walking by, administration's walking by. They're like, hey, you guys can't play poker. You guys can't do gambling. What's wrong with you? And you'll notice my friend Ken on the left-hand side of this picture, he's got the pen and the spiral-bound notebook. And the reason that they did not shut down this poker game is we said, oh, we're not playing for money. We're just playing for score. We're keeping score in this notebook. And of course, we did keep score in the notebook. And then after school, the money changed hands. So it looked like an innocent there's no money on the table. There's no money anywhere, but Ken is keeping track in the notebook. Again, what a gang of professional weirdos. Now, this is special. 1981, this was right after Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt. And the Secret Service, of course, who were the heroes of that story, we figured, hey, this is Halloween. This is Halloween of 1980. I graduated in 1981 in the spring. We went as Secret Service agents, yes, with guns, with water guns painted black to look as realistic as possible. I would point out to you that this is also 18 years before Columbine. The whole concept of a school shooting was inconceivable. It wasn't even in the vocabulary, much less in the culture of our day-to-day tragic news that we have these days. And we got away with this too. We got away with this too. So again, professional weirdos, professional weirdos. Now you might say, well, David, where's all this going? Why is this valuable? How did this help you as an author? I will tell you how it helped me as an author. It got me quoted and featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. Entrepreneur Magazine came out with a feature called Class Act, how you went from class clown, jock, or geek to entrepreneur. And notice there's me with my high school yearbook formal picture. And my quote in here says, think about it. Class clowns by their very nature are not afraid to fail. Unlike the geeks who suffer, not afraid to fail, unlike the geniuses. They thrive on being different, unlike the geeks who suffer by being different. They focus on getting noticed among the noise, familiar theme, getting noticed among the noise, unlike the cool kids who focus on fitting in. They have the extra bandwidth to get their work done, plus be creative, funny, and a little irreverent, unlike the dummies. And class clowns want to get along with all the other groups to expand their audience, unlike the jocks who just need to impress the other jocks. So that's what I said. That's what got me featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. And of course, all of the principles and practices have helped me write 4 best-selling books and build a thriving business around them and so on and so forth. So if you don't think that being a professional weirdo pays off, I think you're the one who's the weirdo. So final yearbook picture, I promise. Yes, I had hair. Back in the day, my friends, I did in fact have hair on the top of my head. Very strange. So our goal here is, as an entrepreneurial nonfiction author, we need to unleash some level, maybe not as weird as me, but we need to unleash some level of weird, strange, and different. Because weird, strange, and different stands out. I'm going to give you some author examples right now so people can calm down. Like, when are we going to get to the author part of this? So, Larry Winget, very successful author, New York Times bestselling author, as a matter of fact, has written lots of nonfiction books on lots of different topics. He first came to fame with a book called Shut Up, Stop Whining, and Get a Life. He is known as the anti-motivational speaker. There's all the motivational speakers. Yes, you can do it. I believe in you. Go for the ring. You know, Breakfast of Champions, all of this. And what Larry wants to tell you is that you're a dummy and you're lazy and you don't have what it takes and you better step up your game. His other books that I've also have pictured here are You're Broke Because You Want to Be. That's a financial management book. It's called Work for a Reason. And the favorite book of mine that Larry wrote is not even pictured here. It's a book on parenting, believe it or not. And it's called Your Kids Are Your Own Damn Fault. Your kids are your own damn fault. So I want you to think of the polarizing effect of this professional weirdo. There are people that will love this message, resonate this message, buy the book, recommend the book, buy the book in bulk. And there are other people that would not touch this with a 10-foot pole. This is not for me. He's rude. He's abrasive. He's insulting. I don't like this guy. And the polarizing effect of some will love you and some will hate you is very important. And we get to decide the important part of this, which I'll get to a little bit later. We get to decide, and I'm going to show you how to decide, what people you are going to magnetically attract and what people you are going to equally repel. So hold that thought. Second example is my client and friend, Gary Markle. Gary writes on possibly one of the most boring topics imaginable, which is performance reviews. He's got one out there called No More Performance Evaluations. He's written a book called Catalytic Coaching, The End of the Performance Review. His professional stance as a nonfiction author in the business realm is performance reviews don't work. They actually damage performance. Employees hate getting them. The only people who hate them more than employees is managers who have to give them. Stick a fork in performance reviews. They are done. They are finished. They are broken. It's over. I want you to think of all the CEOs, all the VPs of HR, all the people in corporate America who are finally looking at this guy going, oh, finally, this is the guy who's speaking the truth. I hate performance evaluations too. I've always thought they were a waste of time, paper, money, energy. I hate giving them. I hate getting them. Gary Markle, you're my savior. When can we bring you in to help us install an alternative program called Catalytic Coaching? There are other CEOs and VPs of HR who would say, are you insane? We've put tens of thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars in our 19-page performance management form and our performance management process. We dedicate 3 months out of every 12-month year into performance management. We love performance management. We're looking for a consultant to help us take our 19-page performance management form and make it a 21-page performance management form, to make it deeper, to make it longer, to make it more in-depth and more valuable. Gary says, forget it. Ain't gonna happen. Not me, not now, ain't no way, ain't no how. Performance reviews are broken, they're dead. Stick a fork in it, It is done. Polarizing. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. And here's the mantra, my friends. If you don't risk turning some people off, you will never turn anybody on. If you don't risk turning some people off, you will never turn anybody on. Very, very, very important. Third and final example is Alfie Kohn. Alfie Kohn is almost like a professional agitator. And he's written a number of books on a number of topics. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. He's a rewards and recognition expert that says rewards actually don't work. In fact, all the behavior that you're trying to incentivize, it's going to backfire in your face. This book has been around for a long time. You can see I pulled up the cover of the 25th anniversary edition. The book is called Punished by Rewards: The Trouble with Gold Stars, Incentive Plans, A's, Praise, and Other Bribes. Then he went on to write a book about competition, both in school and at work. Book is called No Contest: The Case Against Competition, Why We Lose in Our Race to Win. Then I'll give you a third one. He wrote a book on parenting, a provocative challenge to the conventional wisdom about discipline. That's the pre-title. The title is Unconditional Parenting. The subtitle, Moving from Rewards and Punishment to Love and Reason. Now, he likes stirring the boat so much, stirring the pot, rocking the boat. You can also rock the pot and stir the boat. I really don't care. You can do either one. He then figured out, okay, what else can I blow up? What else can I do? So he has an anthology that's called You Know What They Say, The Truth About Popular Beliefs. And this guy is a mythbuster and a truth teller and a researcher. And so he busts all of these myths in this book. No two snowflakes are alike. Boys are better at math than girls. Absolutely not, by the way. Girls are way better at math than boys. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. False, not true. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Again, going back to the carrots and sticks of parenting, creativity requires a touch of madness. No, it doesn't. Creativity is a discipline that you can learn and deploy at will, and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, not necessarily. So he loves being so much the anti, and the antidote that he just wrote a book of all kinds of different myths that he can bust. Now, the real question is, in your area of expertise, where are you on the spectrum? Do you blend in, look like, sound, act like every other author in your field of writing? Or are you, like Gary and like Alfie and like Larry, are you contrarian? Are you different? Do you have a point of view? Are you rocking the boat? Are you stirring the pot? Are you upsetting the apple cart? Because if your writing, if your thinking is the same as everybody else, or very similar, comparable, replaceable by every other book on your topic, nothing special, just another leadership book, just another book on health, wellness, nutrition, whatever it is, just another book is not going to cut it, my friends. Just another book is going to be relegated to the bargain bin. So the other distinction is that when you are pursuing your market eminence strategy, by definition, if I were to describe Gary Markle to you in one sentence, or if I was to describe Larry Winget to you in one sentence, or if I was to describe Alfie Kohn to you in one sentence, you would be able to repeat it, you would be able to remember it, and you'd be able to refer like, well, if you want a motivational speaker that's really unlike all the other motivational speakers, you should look at my friend Larry Winget, right? If you believe that rewards and recognition are kind of broken and they don't really reward and recognize the behavior that you want, sometimes they, in fact, incentivize the exact opposite behavior in leaders, in salespeople, in professionals, in students, in volunteer nonprofits, nonprofit volunteers. If you don't think that rewards and recognition work, boy, do I have a book that has the research, the stats, etc. So you and I both need to be repeatable, memorable, and referable. Early on, this is a screenshot of my website in 2005, before I had the Do It marketing brand. I went by Unconsulting, which was kind of half-baked, not quite fully thought through. But the idea was take everything you know about consulting, turn it on its head, and then you get me. I'm friendly. I'm approachable. I actually do the work. I actually help you implement. I don't just drop a 5-pound binder on your desk and say, figure it out on your own. So I have that experience. I want to take you into the world of music and specifically the Grateful Dead. So if there are any Deadheads in the group, just go ahead and just claim that loudly and proudly. Just type Deadhead in the chat if you're a fan of the Grateful Dead. The Grateful Dead is unlike any other band in music history. Any other, anywhere, anytime, completely different in a lot of ways. First of all, you can't really categorize their music because it's a mashup of rock, blues, jazz, folk, country, gospel, bluegrass, reggae, and whatever they were smoking that morning. Improvisation and experimentation were how they ran the shows. They would sometimes get 2 or 3 minutes into a song, they weren't feeling it, they would just stop and do another song instead. So it was almost like being in on a rehearsal. They did, over the course of their entire 30-plus year career when all the original members were together, 2,318 concerts. They prioritized ticket sales and concerts much more so than making money from albums. Interestingly, they only had one top 40 hit, but at the same time, they had 66 top 40 albums. 66 top 40 albums. The average song length at a live concert was 9 minutes. At one time, I forget which concert it was, but they went for 46 minutes on a single song. Improvisation, experimentation, they just kept the groove going. They also encouraged people to tape back in the era of tape. If you're not sure what a tape is, look it up on Wikipedia, kids. You'll figure it out. Taping and trading of those tapes, trading of those recordings was actually encouraged. And they had a freemium model where they did some things for free. They released their music freely. They had people tape and trade freely, but they made money from the experiences, the merchandise, and then the special exclusives that they released through their mailing list. They were also email marketing pioneers before email marketing was even a thing because they used traditional mail, stamps, envelopes, things like that. It's amazing. They also built this incredible super fan community, and they bypassed all of the music industry middlemen and sold directly to fans. Their secret superpower was being authentically authentic. And if you are a Deadhead, if you are a super fan, then you know that seeing 25 shows is a low number. If you're a fan of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones or Sting or whoever else, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, maybe you've seen 5 concerts, 7, whatever. 25 was low. There are people that saw 50 concerts, 100, 200. They followed them around the country sometimes. That level of loyalty, that level of buying everything that they released was unheard of. Now, what's the lesson there? The lesson there is you got to be the black jelly bean. So when you think about the Grateful Dead, they could not out Rolling Stone the Rolling Stones. They could not out Beatles the Beatles. They could not out Elvis. They had to do their own thing, right? They had to be incomparable. They had to be the only one that is in their category doing what they're doing so that they stand out. Now, a lot of people did not resonate with that music. It was not pop music. The singles did not hit the pop charts except for one time. And it was really a specialized niche kind of thing. And when you're the black jelly bean, that is how you dominate the landscape. Jerry Garcia, in fact, even said, this is a direct quote, "We're like licorice. Not everybody likes licorice, but man, the people who like licorice really like licorice. And they know about Swedish licorice and German licorice and French licorice and black licorice, purple licorice. They collect licorice. They go to licorice meetups. They trade licorice with each other." So people that like the black jelly bean really, really love the black jelly bean. If it's not your thing, don't worry. Move on. It's not for you. That's the kind of author platform that we need to build. You're not going to be loved by everybody, but the segment that loves you a lot. And my 3 previous books, and just to follow through on the model of the black jelly bean, The 3 previous books were traditional 50, 60,000 word business books. They were in this Do It series that you see here, Do It Marketing, Do It Speaking, Do It Selling. The Market Eminence book is itself the black jelly bean. I decided to make it a black book to follow through on the black jelly bean concept. Much shorter, much more condensed, much more actionable, all about differentiation, positioning, packaging, and how to create a category of one for yourself as an author, as an entrepreneur, or as some sort of business expert. So the big question that the book set out to answer is, what does it take to earn attention for your books, your services, and your author platform in a very noisy world? And my answer to that is 3 parts of the Market Eminence formula: visibility, respect, and brand preference. So yes, as an entrepreneurial author, you do need to get seen, because no one buys products, services, books, etc. sight unseen. So job number 1 is to get seen. Number 2 is respect, coming from a deep familiarity or a deep resonance with your ideal reader or your ideal client, so they feel, wow, you get me. Much like the Grateful Dead, much like the other examples that I've shared. Not everyone's going to love you, but the ones that love you a lot, leading to brand preference, which is, I don't even care what your next book is. I'm signed up on the early bird list. I'll be a beta reader. I will share it. I will review it. I am a raving fan of work that you haven't even written yet. Hang on. We got to stop the show here. This is so super important. What I just said is, you are going to develop raving fans of books that you haven't even written yet. Imagine having that kind of platform where, like Mike Michalowicz, like Seth Godin, like many of the headline speakers that Stephanie has had at the Nonfiction Writers Conference, there are fans of Mike Michalowicz who are signed up right now for his next book, don't even know what the next book is. There are fans of Seth Godin. The moment he comes out or announces his next thing, he's got a huge waiting list of fans and followers and readers and subscribers that cannot wait to consume his next thing even before they know what it is. And that's the position that we want you to be in. All right, so think about market eminence. And what's the opposite of market eminence? It's market obscurity. So the question is, how can you truly stand out to be seen, respected, and preferred? The top 5% of entrepreneurial authors have this market eminence, and I want you in that top 5% green slice. The rest of them are lost in a sea of sameness, me too, just one of the crowd, nothing special, no polarization, no activation, no excitement around what they're doing. So the problem that this solves once you implement this is waiting for the phone to ring, metaphorically, in all different kinds of aspects of your work. No market authority, even if you've written multiple books. Doing great work in obscurity. This is a good picture of an entrepreneurial author at work here with the coffee and the notebook. Idiots hogging the spotlight. I'm sorry, did I say idiots? I didn't mean idiots. Competitors hogging the spotlight, where they are nowhere as skilled, talented, dedicated, or deep as you are, but they just somehow figured out the marketing game and they're getting attention, even though all of your books and all of your work is much, much better. So the opportunity, let's unlock what this might look like once you answer a couple of questions here that I'll share with you. Number 1, how do we open the floodgates? How do we get the recognition, the respect, and the raving fans that you deserve? So this is a book signing. When I last did a book signing in person in 2013, I had 60 empty chairs, literally 60 empty chairs. Not a single soul came to my book signing. Because in 2013, I was a nobody, and the store said, oh, we're going to market this. We're going to send this out to our database. We're going to put you in the front of the store. And all of which they did, by the way. But as a no-name, no-brand, nobody author, I was looking at 60 empty chairs. You don't want to look at 60 empty chairs, my friends. You want to look at a crowd this size when you go to do a book signing in a bookstore. And then that's going to unleash the love from readers, potential clients, media sources, partners, podcast hosts. That's the definition of true market eminence. So I want to take you back to the 1970s. late 1970s, early 1980s. It used to be that nonfiction authors were not in the business realm, right? The first CEO as author, the first kind of CEO rock star was Lee Iacocca, who was the chairman of Chrysler. He's the original celebrity CEO. We used to have authors, we used to have celebrities, and we used to have CEOs. They were never the same people. And so now we have the original celebrity CEO as author. Since then, of course, fast forward 50 years, everyone's getting in this game. Every big company CEO writes a book, whether we're talking about Xerox or eBay or American Express. Small and medium-sized company CEOs and founders are writing books. So 37 Signals and Nasty Gal and Stonyfield Farm Yogurt. So this is now table stakes. To be an authority, you need to be an author. You've heard that before. It's 10 times as true today as it has ever been. And the reason I chose to name this book Market Eminence, people are like, eminence, that's a weird word. Where'd you come up with that? No one's going to know what that means. No one can even spell that word. But I love this definition, and this is why I stuck with it. Fame or recognized superiority. Notice it's recognized superiority, not just superiority, recognized superiority, especially within a particular sphere or profession, which is the topics in which you write your books. So the problem is, if you don't have market eminence, the world and you, there's a huge gap called the obscurity gap. On one side, we have our potential readers and potential clients. They are overwhelmed, lazy, busy, and befuddled. And then we have you on the other side who, unless you implement this, unless something changes, for all intents and purposes, you are invisible, uncredible, isolated, and easily interchangeable with other authors who do what you do. And now add on top of that AI, and now we have a real problem. So the AI survivability test is, to what extent can your expertise be replaced by AI? Your writing, your thinking, your books. Now, the top 5% of people that have this market eminence, they're no longer doing how-to content. How-to content is dead. We need to shift into how to think, much higher level strategic kind of content, how to think content, what to believe and what not to believe. So separating the myths from the truths, separating the wheat from the chaff, separating the myths from the half-truths or the outdated truths that no longer apply in your field of expertise. And then where to focus for what's coming next. How can you help your readers, your audience, see around corners, get ready for new opportunities and or prepare for new threats that not a lot of people can see, but you can see because of your particular expertise. Everybody else is going to be left behind because 95% of people that are still doing this today, and they're doing it, by the way, with the help of AI, so it's more AI slop, they're doing how-to, me-too syndrome. We don't need more how-to content. We don't need more how-to content on the internet. We don't need more how-to content in our inboxes. AI has taken over how-to, and it's instant, it is perfect, and it's free. I use the word perfect loosely because perfect, of course, doesn't count facts or math or actual accuracy, but no one seems to care about those things anyway. So for most people, it's instant, perfect, and free. You do not want to compete with instant, perfect, and free. Where humans still have the edge is the top of this pyramid. Start thinking and writing about how to think, not how to, but how to think about a topic or an issue, what to believe and what not to believe, so professional myth busting, and where to focus for what's coming next. Be a bit of a future caster or a trend spotter and help people get ready for what's coming next. That is your ultimate human advantage as a nonfiction author. So to separate yourself from the signal to noise ratio, the left side, super noisy, AI slop, all kinds of craziness. Where you want to be is on the right-hand side of this diagram, where it's pure, clean signal. Recast yourself as a nonfiction author to be a professional thinker, a professional problem solver, and a professional truth teller. And that is where your ultimate platform can be built from. So think about the signal to noise. All the old stuff is on the right-hand side. How to, what to do, what's already here, obvious, proven, accepted, safe, intellectual, based on precedent, and you want to be a valedictorian. Whereas what's really valuable is what's on the left-hand side here in the green. How to think, what to believe, what's ahead, non-obvious content, hidden and emerging trends, things that are risky, things that have emotionally triggering, emotional hot button value, predictions, not precedent, and you need to be the visionary. As an author, you need to be the visionary, not the valedictorian. The visionary paints the possibilities. The valedictorian is great at doing book reports and talking about what is already here and what has been in the past. So move away from thinking about better. There is no better in this new world. Think about different, and think about being contrarian. Your beliefs, your point of view count more than ever, and then unlocking a new level of distinction. Now, I'm going to give you, out of the whole Market Eminence book, this is the table of contents, I'm going to give you 3 things to think about, 3 things to take away from our time together. Meditate on these, journal on these, write them down, put them in your favorite notebook or journal. And this affects everything, by the way. This isn't just a one-time post on LinkedIn. This isn't just your next blog post that you put out. This is not just your next newsletter. This affects everything around, from now on, what you say and how you say it, what you do and how you do it. Very, very important. This is the new direction in which you're going to take your author platform. So the first set of exercises is around your contrarian slant. And the question is, what conventional wisdom in your field do you secretly think is completely wrong but have never publicly challenged? And just write that down. Short phrases, keywords, just do some free writing for 1 or 2 minutes on that. We're not going to do it now, but when you do this on your own time. Number 2 is, what harsh truth are readers desperate for someone to finally acknowledge openly? Like Gary Markle, no more performance reviews. Like Larry Winget, your kids are your own damn fault. Like Alfie Kohn, rewards and recognition actually don't work, and they incentivize bad behavior, not good behavior. Number 3, what strong point of view do you already hold that makes perhaps other authors or industry insiders uncomfortable, but resonates deeply with your ideal readers or clients? You start talking about those things, you start putting that in your next newsletter, that in your next social post, that in your next blog. Trust me, you will get an entirely different reaction, an entirely different type of response. You can't do a webinar in 2026 without giving people a ChatGPT prompt. So here's a fun ChatGPT prompt you can try. Using everything you know about my expertise, position, opinions, and author platform, give me 10 contrarian, quote unquote, crazy idea headlines I can use to convey my true distinction, differentiation, and point of view. This should be polarizing in that it strongly attracts the right readers and strongly repels the wrong ones. And you can screenshot that if you want. You can take that along with you. The second exercise is the industry future snapshot. So think about what bold prediction, this is about trend spotting and future casting, what bold prediction would make your competitors or other authors uncomfortable if you publicly stated it? How are your readers, their needs or their preferences changing? And then what current practice in your field do you see becoming obsolete, and what evidence do you already see that supports your prediction? And again, this is a great brainstorming, sit down with a nice hot cup of coffee or tea and free write, brainstorm, keywords, short phrases, start to commit these to paper, and then that becomes part of your new point of view, part of your new platform, part of your new marketing attraction system. The third and final one I'll leave you with is what I call the brand influence tracker. These are all in the book, by the way. These are all in the Market Eminence book with a lot more detail behind them if you want the prompts and all of that, as well as it's also in the downloads, by the way. If you go to marketeminence.com, you get worksheets for each one of these, plus a whole lot more. So list the changes to be an influential author, to have an influence on your readers and your community. List the changes. Write down 3 important shifts happening in your market or in your topic right now. One example might be more clients are worried about AI. That may apply to some people, it may not. Pick your position for each of those 3 changes. Decide A, B, or C. A is, I'm going to embrace this because it fits your strengths. It fits what you write about, talk about, and believe in. Number two, I'm going to challenge this, that you see a different path. That is wrong-headed thinking. And then number three, I'll offer a fresh perspective, which is your yes and option, that you have a unique angle on, yes, that's true, and I have something to add to that that might be more helpful to my readers and my community. For each of those positions, I want you to plan one concrete step, which is to create something helpful, choose the platform where you're going to share it, and then do not wait. Set a date in the next 30 days, even 7 days is even better than 30 days, and put it out there and start to see the reaction that you get. So you are no longer vanilla ice cream, my friends. As nonfiction authors, you need to be loud, proud, bold, exciting, polarizing, and you need to magnetize the best audiences, the best fit audiences, and you need to repel the rest. My mantra I shared with you earlier is that if you don't risk turning some people off, you'll never turn anybody on, and you deserve better than to be vanilla ice cream. Same-o, lame-o, boring, easily interchangeable with any other author in your topic. Nothing special here, nothing to see, move on, next. You deserve better than to be vanilla ice cream. Now, I have a closing exercise just to see if you've been paying attention. I call this the $2 test. This is for the first 3 people. Yes, I'm going to ask you for money. So let's see what happens. Let's do a little experiment here. Please Venmo or PayPal me $2 right now. And yes, money will change hands, real money, real changing hands. You can use Venmo by scanning the QR code on the left, or you can also go to paydavidnow.com. That's right. I bought a domain called paydavidnow.com if you prefer to use PayPal. So something good is going to happen to these 3 people that invest $2. And I use the word invest very intentionally and very carefully. I have my phone with me, so we will see who's taken me up on my crazy wackadoodle offer here. So let's see, transactions. $2, and we still have, no one's taken me up on it yet, but I would encourage you, it will behoove you. I've always wanted to use the word behoove in a webinar. It will behoove you to take me up on this offer. Go ahead and scan that QR code or simply go to the URL paydavidnow.com, paydavidnow.com. This is amazing. I'm just selling air here and no one's taking me up on it. There we go. Mindy, congratulations. Mindy. So Mindy's our first brave soul. Need 2 more. 2 more after Mindy, and then we will bring the point home here. Michelle and Stephanie. Awesome. So the show is now closed. Do not send any more money, but I'm going to ask Mindy I'm going to ask everybody some pointed questions here in about 1 minute. So please hold while I get this squared away here. And what's this for? And we're going to say, So Mindy, please stand by for 1 moment. And we're also going to, whoops. Oh, see, now it's lighting up. The moment I say it's closed, it's lighting up like crazy. And I'm going to ask Stephanie also in a moment here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to ask Stephanie to play along here. And our third person, Venmo just shut down on me, of course. So going back in, 1 more person to process. And that was Michelle. So let's do.
Speaking as a participant, I'm just going to share that David's doing something very interesting at the moment. My phone just pinged me.
All right. Let me ask our 3 victims, either in the chat or wherever, what are you noticing right now, Mindy and Stephanie and Michelle? What is happening in your Venmo as we speak?
I just got a $10 Venmo from David.
That's true. And Michelle, how about you? Yes, no, maybe? Mindy says, I live in Center City, Philly. Can I buy you coffee? Yes, let's talk about it. You can spend $10. It's going to be great. So who else? Michelle Yes, Michelle, I got $10. Exactly right. Exactly right. And yeah, so that's the deal, my friends. That's the deal. Yes, David sent me $10. So what's the point of this lesson before we open it up for Q&A? The point of this lesson, and thank you for playing along. Sometimes I have to really pull teeth to get people to do it. Sometimes people just do it, and I got 10 people to send me money. By the way, if you already sent the money, just stand by and I'll take care of you at the end. I always like to reward action takers, so action does create results. Here's what this means for you as an author. As an author, you are selling something of which there are already 9 million, 10 million of those same things out in the marketplace at any given time, namely a book. I'm selling something very different than I'm selling something valuable. Very different, because I believe that I'm selling something valuable. Like when I'm asking you for $2, I know ahead of time I'm going to give you 10. I know the value. You don't know the value. You have no idea. You're like, sending $2 into a black hole. What's that about? I'm selling something valuable that you don't trust. Now let's switch it over to I'm selling something valuable that you do trust. So if I open this up to the other 40 or 50 people who are here, I'm pretty sure 100% of you would send me $2. Don't. Can't afford it. Sometimes I do this in a live session, an in-person session, and I'll say, okay, what have we learned? And they'll say, you just lost $30 or you just lost $50. That is not the lesson. The lesson is that as an entrepreneurial author, our job is to position ourselves into selling something valuable that you do trust. And I'm selling something valuable that you immediately see, want, and fight hard to get. You jump on that waiting list. You show up first at the bookstore for that book signing. You want to make sure that you are not left out and left behind when your favorite author has something new to say or something new to sell. And I'm going to leave this before we get to our Q&A, which the final thought here is again from the great business philosopher and author marketing expert Jerry Garcia. You do not merely want to be the best of the best author in this topic, the best-selling author in this genre. You want to be considered the only ones who do what you do. So with that, I will turn things back to Stephanie. If you have not yet gotten your free bonuses over at marketeminence.com, please feel free to do that. And Stephanie, back to you for a little Q&A action if you like. Oh, and I think you're on mute.
Good. Sorry. I love that final exercise. I was sitting here going, what is he doing with the $2? This is really weird. But I love it. It was a great lesson in trust building. I think that was really fun. If you have questions for David, pop them in the Q&A. I had a couple of notes here. I thought the Grateful Dead slide was super interesting, that I had no idea that the Dead had that many albums, that they had that theory of give it away. I very much subscribe to give your books away and get them in as many hands as possible. You could do a whole session on marketing like the Grateful Dead.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Asking if we're going to send the replay. Yes, we'll send the replay. Do you share your slides, David?
I can certainly send you a copy, sure. And
Great,
then you
we'll
can
share those as well.
They will accompany the presentation or the video.
I also asked if we have any, I'll call myself a recovering people pleaser. How would you address being a contrarian for people who maybe are hesitant to ruffle feathers?
So good. This is probably the number one objection that I get from people that I work with. We don't want to piss people off. We don't want hate mail. So we have to overcome two very human impulses. One is the impulse to be liked. The second is the impulse to sound smart. So I'll unpack each one of these in 30 seconds. When we are focused on being liked, we're focused on being liked by everyone, which is kind of vanilla and it fades into the background and no one's really paying attention. If you focus on being liked or loved by the exact right demographic, the exact right kind of reader, the exact right kind of client, the exact right kind of prospect, that person is going to love you. They're going to repeat, refer, recommend like crazy. They're going to line up around the block at your book signing. If you don't activate that kind of love, it's not going to resonate. So this whole concept of I want to be liked, yes, but you want to be liked by just the right people. The hater's going to hate. They're never going to buy your book anyway. They don't believe what you believe. There's misalignment, values, etc. You don't care about those folks. Second thing is sound smart, especially new authors. When a new author wants to sound smart, they go to all their other competing authors. They do a competitive scan, which they should do. And they say, oh, I love this part of Stephanie's website. I really like what David's doing here. I love the graphics over here. I love the layout over there. And they start to clone and copy, right? That is the exact opposite of differentiation and distinction. So sounding smart, both in writing and elsewhere and in your marketing, sounding smart by definition means let's sound like other smart people that I admire or look up to. Do not worry about sounding smart. The most important thing is to sound like you. Remember my first big slide that said you in gigantic big letters? You need to come across as you. The reason my good friend Stephanie Chandler is successful, she never lost sight of who she was, her backstory, her front story, what she loves to do, who she loves to hang out with. There is no fakery, there's no artifice, there's no layers. What you see is what you get. When I mentioned my backstory of started in 2002, didn't figure any of this out till 2006, it was 4 years of me trying to be other people, me trying to sound smart, me trying to be liked by everybody. And then I realized, oh, wait a second. No one's paying attention. No one's buying the books. No one's listening to anything I have to say because I was trying to be vanilla instead of course, what I am is tutti frutti and a professional weirdo. When I leaned into that, and I'm not saying everyone needs to be a professional weirdo, like, strange, but you do need to be different. So what's your flavor of different? That's how you get over the reluctance.
I love that, and true. And I love professional weirdo. I was going to ask you, I know we're at the top of the hour. If y'all have to go, I understand. We will send the recording, but I do want to hit David with one more big question that I think you want to hear the answer to. David is really good at launching his books. Will you share some of your, I've used you as an example, like bringing in your friends to share bonus
Yes.
items. Will you just give us like a high level look at some of the ways you do your launches?
Sure. So, one of the things that I deeply believe in and have deeply practiced for about the last 15 years, didn't do it at the beginning because at the beginning I was clueless, is this concept that as an author, you need to flop. And FLOP is an acronym for feature and leverage other people. Feature and leverage other people. So no one does anything great alone. Think about who could be a contributor to your book if your book is one that fits. My first 3 books all had contributors. The Market Eminence book, by definition, it couldn't really have contributors because that would kind of go against the message of Market Eminence. But anyway, so I had contributors, I had endorsers, I had launch partners. The launch partners were happy to participate because I also shined the spotlight on them. I also happen to host the podcast. So on my podcast, I invite my friends, my colleagues, even some friendly competition, right? People who do what I do. But here's what I've learned over these past 23 years, 24 years now of starting this business. Experts highlight other experts. Authors feature other authors, especially in the author community, right? We blurb each other's books, we help promote, we send emails, we submit reviews. So we are totally in the mix. In order for you to launch your book successfully, you absolutely need to feature and leverage other people. And the best way to do that is to dig your well before you're thirsty. I'm almost always willing to help someone, except when they say, hey, David, my book launches next week. Can you send an email? And I haven't heard from this person for 5 years, right? That is not dig your well before you're thirsty. That is total self-centered, selfish, taker, not giver mentality. So build up a network of people who love your work, believe in you, you believe in their work, you're a fan of theirs, and we're not meant to do this alone. So don't try and do this alone. It's not a sign of strength. Doing this alone, it's a sign of strength. Doing it with fellow like-minded authors and other people who are just waiting to promote you and to help you. And you have to be open and vulnerable enough to ask for that help and then be willing to accept that help when it's offered.
I love that you made that into an acronym, feature and leverage other people.
You gotta flop.
You gotta flop. And you also need to befriend your competition. You also need a channel to do these things. You need to either have a podcast where you can bring other people in, or a video channel, or do webinars. This is what I've been doing for a million years is bringing in other people. Nobody would
Right.
come to the Nonfiction Writers Conference for 3 days with me.
Right.
You want to come because we have all these other interesting speakers.
Yes.
And this is how we build relationships and support each other. And I invite you to speak at the conference and you're like, hey, this book is out. And I'm like, let's do a webinar. I love your marketing. You've always got such creative ideas. So
Yeah.
this was great. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. I'm jumping ahead here. We do have some Q&A. Dick says, David, I just added a comment after every case study in my book titled My Take. Then I make a snarky or humorous comment. Other ideas I could add to a book of business case studies on how people think.
Well, so I did it in the Market Eminence book. I actually have a section of the book. Each of the 22 strategies has a section literally called How to Think. I would encourage you to steal that subhead and say how to think about this issue or this problem or this challenge that the case study is talking about. And especially if it's a client case study, right? My client thought the problem, so under the How to Think banner, my client thought the problem was A, B, and C. When I looked at the situation, I actually found out it was X, Y, and Z. Here's what we did. Here's what changed. Here's the outcome. And your How to Think doesn't always have to be that same format, but How to Think is the mind shift. How to Think is old way, new way, or partial truth and real truth, or, obvious symptom and non-obvious cause of the symptom. So kind of going 2 levels below the surface and really sharing with people not just the solution that you gave them, but the advice, insights, and recommendations that created the solution.
This is so funny because Dick's book title is How Smart People Think.
There you go. That is a Market Eminence rich title.
Isn't it a great title? Can we please say that one more time? Because there's some question about keeping this title. It is his second
you totally
book.
have to keep it.
I
You
love that
totally have to
title.
keep it. I tell you what, if you don't keep it, I will take it. I will steal it, and that's the title of my next book. If you use it, then it's hands off.
The timing could not be better because he's had some pushback on the title. I love it. I agree. I don't want it to change. And you're getting some nice feedback for everybody. So David, thank you so much. Remind us, I think we forgot what your website is. Can you tell us again?
Sure thing. So I'll pop it in the chat also. It's marketeminence.com is the website to get all the free goodies that are related to today's topic. My main website is doitmarketing.com, and there's a blog on there and a podcast, and Stephanie has been a repeat guest on the podcast because, like Stephanie, I always like to feature and leverage my friends multiple times on the podcast and showcase their brilliance. And what else is on there? There's some free webinar and some videos and YouTube channel and all the usual author nonsense. But relative to today, the resources are really all at marketeminence.com.
Yeah, you're such a creative marketer. I always enjoy chatting with you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. The recording, and you'll send us the slides. We'll get those out this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate
Thanks,
the kind
everyone.
words.
We appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for attending this webinar by the Nonfiction Authors Association. Since 2010, we have helped thousands of writers learn to write, publish, and promote books that make a difference in the world. If you need support navigating the complexities of the publishing industry and want to reach your author goals faster, you can learn about membership benefits, courses, and additional resources by visiting nonfictionauthorsassociation.com.